Hi everyone. My name is Mehdi Belmekki. I'm Alfresco consultant, and I'm here today to present the Alfresco Audit API and share with you some hints and tricks and lessons learned from my experience with the audit staff. So for the agenda today, I will start by introducing myself, give an overview about the talk objectives about the audit trail mechanism, which was the old audit mechanism in Alfresco 3.2. Give an overview and details about mechanism for auditing in Alfresco 4, speak about data producers, data extractors and generators, and audit filters and applications, which are Alfresco Audit API components. Then after, I'll try to get some time to do a demo for quick, I would say, share developments in order to create a new share page with some charts showing and getting some data from the Audit API. After that, I will share with you some of my development tricks and lessons learned from from my work on the Audit API. And then I will take if any question, and we'll be happy to give you answers. So I'm a technical consultant on Alfresco team. So I'm 5 years experiences on Alfresco. I'm based in Paris. My experience area are share developments, Audit API, Serve framework, and authentication subsystems in Alfresco. Here's my mail. If anyone later have any question or anything else, you can just drop me an email and I'll be happy to reply. So talk for today, my talk objectives. I aim to give an overview of the audit mechanism and different components involved in the audit in the Alfresco API. Later, I will try to explain how data is recorded and extracted or generated from the recorded data by the audit. After that, I aim from this presentation to give you the ability to create your custom extractors and generators to make you able to create your custom audit application and visualize data and exploit data recorded by the Audit API in Alfresco. And I will later share with you some development tricks. So we'll start with the audit trail, which is the old mechanism in Alfresco. Before we used, in order to configure the audit, to configure one single file, which was the audit config.xml file, which was a bin. So everything was global. Either we can enable or disable the audit for globally for a service or for a method. We cannot filter if we want to disable it for type of content for certain users and not the other ones. It was a little bit limited at this time. So this was the audit mechanism by up to version 3.2. So there was method calls, and we had an audit interceptor, which was based on AOP framework, which intercept the method called register start the audit. So register the method arguments, give the method statement in order to be executed, and later record the returned values and record if any exceptions in a separate transaction. So the limitations was with this mechanism that either we record everything or we record nothing. So in the bins, either we enable the service auditing or we disabled it. Either we enable it for function or we disabled it. We cannot, as I said, filter conditions where to enable it or where to disable it. Everything was stored on the database, and in order to exploit data on the database, we was used to use select statements, which was SQL statements. So in order to query directly the database tables. So as well, there was no clean way, I would say, to clean up the database from the old audit entries if we want just to keep the last month, the last year, or something like this. So we were enabled as well to audit actions that pass through the FTP or CFS server. We can, if we want before to count the top 5 read documents, for example, we used to extract all data and then count the number of occurrences before returning the top read documents or top update documents. So in order to bypass these limitations, we addressed a to-do list in order to improve the audit mechanism in Alfresco. So we wanted to store the path for the node ref or the content which is concerned by the event that we want to audit. We want to store the method and the service that trigger and call this event. We want to store even the properties before and after the method calls. And we want to even get some exception summary about the message of the exception if any exceptions occurs. We want even if the call fails, we want to store and add the entry to our audit store. So starting from the Alfresco version 4, a new audit mechanism was implemented. So everything was changed, I would say, even refactored. So now the new mechanism based on data producers, which produce data from the methods and repository services, and send it back to an audit component that will handle to record audit values, that handle as well the audit queries method. If any query gets from the Audit API, the audit component will answer. And as well, it manages data filters, extractors, and generators, which are components that I will speak on and on deep details later on next slide, before sending this data to the data storage, which is the database. So the major components on Alfresco auditing stack, starting from version 4. We have an audit interceptor, which intercepts methods calls. We have an access auditor, which is a class that intercepts all content-related events. So create a document, update a document. So it's a I would say, a sub party of the audit interceptor. The audit interceptor intercepts everything. So the workflow, the login, the documents, contents, and even the search and all the operations. Access auditor is concerned only by the content-related actions. So only where content is involved. So we will not find, for example, access auditor will not intercept login failures, logout, or anything related to users, but only actions related to the content, as I said. So we have an audit component, which is a class that manages, record method, delete the entries in the audit from the audit storage, can enable and disable the audit as well. We have an audit data access object, which is a low-level SQL statement that query the database directly. And we have an audit model registry, which is a subsystem developed in Alfresco in order to allow the user to enable, disable the audit or some audit applications directly without restarting the server, and we can even change through the GMX properties on the audit subsystem and restart this subsystem without restarting the whole servers. So first I will start by talking about the data producers, which are the main components which produce data on Alfresco and send it back to the Audit API. So we have three main data producers. We have the Alfresco API, we have Alfresco Access, and the Alfresco node, which send all data intercepted since methods call directly to the audit component. So started talking about the Alfresco API. So this is the tree that can be generated with the Alfresco API data producer. As I said before, it is used to audit low-level methods, so workflow, user creation, everything through Alfresco. We have Alfresco Access, which is the content auditing I was talking about on the last slides. So which is concerned by all content-related actions. So we can find node create, move, copy, delete, or properties update, adding aspects, or manipulating the aspects and the properties on the repository. This component handles such actions and store the data related to these actions. So later we can query the repository and get the response that we want to show or expose in BI dashboard or something like this. So this is the generated data by the Alfresco Access. As you can see, we can catch the action, we can catch sub-actions, we have the path to the concerned node, to the concerned content, we have the type of this content. We have even the node ref, which is the unique ID to the content. We can as well store the action for copy or move, and they have the old location, the new location, or even properties updates. We can have old properties and new property values. We have the last producer, which is Alfresco node, which is used only to handle before delete actions and before delete event. So before the node is deleted, this data producers answer the entry on the audit store. Data generators and data extractors are two main major components that is used heavily in while developing our custom applications or while trying to query the audit system on Alfresco. So the data extractors are Java interface that should be implemented by your own classes in order to extract data from a cached value by the Audit API. So here, for example, a data extractor will use the node ref, call the site service in order to get the site name and store the site name as an audited value. We have out-of-box provided extractors that it is given as an example, I will say, which has the node name, which is a data extractor that can extract the property name from the node ref. We have a node type that extracts the type from the node ref. And we have a null value, which returns always null. And we have transparent data extractor, which returns the same values as it gets as an entry. Data generators are a bit different because it doesn't need anything as an argument. It just generates data directly without anything on the argument using the getData method. So it is more related to the system state and the thread context. So it can generate the transaction ID while the transaction is committed. It can generate the authenticated person or the authenticated user that triggered this event, or system time for this transaction. Now I'll be talking about the auditing filters, which is here to decide go and no-go for the audited events based on some properties that can be set up on Alfresco global properties. As you can see here, for example, here we set up a filter for the Alfresco access data producer in order to deny or avoid storing all the actions triggered by system user. And we specify that we want to store only events that concern CM folder and CM context, CM content types, and that concern only documents under application company home, not all documents on the records store or the archive store as well. So this filters starting from version 4 can be used with your own custom applications if you develop any. Before version 4, you can only use it with the Alfresco access, which is provided by default with Alfresco. But starting from version 4, you can use it for your own custom applications. Now I'll be talking about the custom applications, which group and use all the components I was talking about, just data producers, data extractors, data generators, in order to render human readable, human understandable values from the Audit API. So the audit applications act in the middle of the mechanism and the process of recording the data. So we have raw data in on the first stage. We have a node ref, for example, that's concerned by the event. We have this node properties, and we have, for example, the actions that it was triggered. We may have two audit applications, different applications. For one application to audit the login, and another one to audit the site application or site actions. For example, how many documents is read by site, how many documents was deleted from a site, or something like this. And later, we will have recorded values that we can, while we query the audit API in Alfresco, will get these values as a result, which are, for example, the username, the action, the site name, or the action again for the other application. The advantage with the audit application is that we won't duplicate the data. We will have always one raw data, but interpreted by two different applications. So one application can render the site name, for example, from a Node.ref. Another one can render the path or something like this. So this is a group by for the audit data and events. So for example, if we want to have two applications, one to store site names, as I explained before, and another one to store the raw Node.ref, we can define two applications and query each application alone when we need, based on our need. So this is an example of definition for an application. So as you can see, we start by defining our data extractors that we will need, our data generators that we will need. Later, we will define the path mapping, which map the data producers we're talking about with our target applications. So say this applications is concerned by this data source and this methods and services in order to group all the events on the same application. So after that, we define the application and we define how the values returned by the Audit API will be handled, either by data extractor or a data generator. So this is schema just to recapitulate the new mechanism for the audit in Alfresco 4. So we have data producers that generate inbound values that get filters before being sent to an audit application based on a path mapping specified on the XML file I just showed you before. This audit application will call our data extractor and data generators in order to extract the human readable values, as I said, because the data producer produce a Node.ref, produce raw properties, raw data that it is not easy to use and to understand. So the data extractor and data generators can extract what we need from using the Node.ref or the extracted data values before recording it as a recording tree that we can get later while querying our audit application. So now I will do a quick demo in order to create quickly a new, I'll say, share page. And let's get a chart with some created documents and let's audit some of audit actions that have been doing so far. So what I'm doing so far is to, as you may know, we have an Alfresco Share, an admin console, in order to use admin, I say, usual tasks. So what I will try to do is to create a new admin console page with some with the shard exploiting the Audit API and getting data from Audit API and then render it as a shard. As you can see, it is easy. Everything you need is these 4 files. Sorry, I have some problem with the Zoom. So this file, in order to define our web script in the family, when you specify the family admin console, it goes directly to the admin console as a new component. We have audit get head FTL, which will load our JavaScript client side and CSS that we use. For this demo, I use HighChart, which is a JavaScript framework in order to generate charts using JSON file as an entry. We have an audit HTML free marker file. Here I've defined the function and instantiate my custom chart using the highlight framework. So this this is simply the sample that you can use, that you can find on the GS framework site, and the audit.get.js will, as you may see, prepare a query for an action with the value action that we will send as a parameter. It will add, based on the parameters, add another parameter, which is the username, in order to get the actions for this defined username. Otherwise, it will get all, or it will count the actions for all the users. So then on our JavaScript file, we will define two rows, one for in order to audit all users, and one to get entries only for the admin user. So the results, the raw result, say, looks like this one. So this is the result returned by default implementation of audit query web script. So as you may see, we have entries audited by Alfresco access data producer. The user, for example, for this action was the admin. This is the time of these transactions. So this is the audited value that we got. So we have the user, the type of the node ref, and we have the path of the node ref with the action. If we wanted to get the site name, for example, concerned by this action, we can define our, as I said before, our own data extractor and use the node ref in order to add and get new value here with the site name. This is a JSON file that you can use with your own GS framework in order to render your charts. And so the results looks like this. So we have, this is a number of reads by the admin, as I just set up my Alfresco, so we don't have too much document reads. This is for creations. We have 32, and we have for the other, for the admin, and I'm sorry. We have more for the other users, and this is for deletions. Actually, what we've done is just to put the parameters for our count actions that we define on the audit get.js, and we pass as a parameter the action we want to audit. So the read, create, delete. You have as well copy, move. You have check-in, check-out, and all the usual action that you are used to do on against your contents, daily use. So I'll be back now to demo. Any query handled by the Alfresco Audit API is handled later by an audit query callback, which is a function, a class that treat and transform and render the audited results, the audited value that it gets as a result. By default, the default one implemented by Alfresco, that's why I just show you on the JSON file, do only populate a JSON file with the entries that it gets as a result of an audit query. So, for example, you may need to have your top read documents, top updated documents, top, I will not say deleted documents, you cannot delete it more than once. So, what you may need to do is to override or re-implement your own audit query callback class, and, for example, add the new variable count entries, which will count the occurrence of an action against a specific node, and later will render the result in a method as get top entries. So some of our customers developed before the appearance of the new audit mechanism in Alfresco 4. They developed in the old mechanism custom applications, and they have some data that they want to lose and they want to migrate it. So it's as easy as use the audit component record value, which is record audit values, which is an out-of-box function that you can call with your own, with custom, I will say, audit values, and it will record it back to the new audit mechanism. But you should be aware that the transaction dates will not be the old one from the old mechanism, but it will be stored as a new transactions, which is normal. So in order to keep your original dates, you should better create a new property and store it using the data extractor or data generators, as I explained before. So that's all for my presentation. If anyone have any question. Yeah.
Export these audit results into Word doc or Excel or
Exactly. Actually, this is handled, as I said, by the audit query callback. The default one used here do just populate a JSON file that is returned by the web script, which is provided by default. You can implement your own and instead handle the entries you get as a result in the way you want. So you can create your CSV and record all the result entries and the CSV, and then send it back on JSON as a web script attachment or something like this, and you can download it without any problem. But everything you need is just to override the audit query implementation, and it's done for this.
I think that functionality is also available in the records management module when you export.
Exactly.
Directly audit logs.
On the CSV. So you can re-implement the same.
If you have also the records management module, you can export. The records management module has also capability to already export the audit logs as
CSV files. So it's already implemented. You can even, as it is open source, you can even take the source and customize it for your own usage. So it's already there, it's already implemented. But as I said, again, it's really easy to do my class implements audit query callback and do whatever you want with your result entries, and later turn it back to the user or send it back to another database in order to get a BI dashboard or something like this based on the entries you get, based on your results. So, any other question? Yeah.
Are there any specific challenges with auditing read events across both web service APIs and virtual file systems?
Exactly. This was before version 4. Actually, it was fixed starting from version 4. Before, the read action was, even the download action was counted as a read. But this was disassociated, these notions starting from version 4. So read can be a preview on share, or a document opens directly on the repo.
Okay, that would apply if it was opened over CIFS or FTP? Or
exactly, it will be counted. Yes, as I said, it was a limitation on the old audit as well. So FTP and CFS was not audited at all. But starting from version 3 to R, you can get this one working. And starting from 3.4, you got the filter working. Starting from version 4, you got even the read fixed.
Does that account for document content captured in the browser as well? See that
Catch it from the browser.
So if a user reads content,
Mm-hmm.
and then their browser has got that content now,
Okay.
will we ever see a reread on that?
It was a bug and it was fixed. You mean that sometimes you have a big PDF document, something like this, and the browser asks again and again for different parts of the document. That's it? Yes, it will be counted as one. It was an open bug and it was fixed.
Did you have to change for audit reads?
On the Alfresco API data producer, you have low level already, and you can audit everything on this level.
So
But on the audit access, you cannot get more details other than action read.
Okay.
That's everything you get.
Default configuration includes audit for reads as well?
Yep, it audits everything. It audits everything. So you can stop auditing when you specify using the filters or your custom applications that can only listen to some events and not the other ones. Yep. So another question.
Earlier, one of your slides showed the properties that we can set in the Alfresco global property file.
For the filters.
The audit based on the type. Was that written for the content type?
Yes, exactly. You can audit only when sometimes you use your own custom models. Not sometimes, but usually customers develop its own custom content models. Sometimes they want to audit some types, but not the other ones. They don't want to bother themselves by auditing folders or something like this. We want just to audit site, for example. So we can specify the path application company sites, and we can even specify the type and put ST sites. And everything we will audit is from the type site or something.
You
Like
mentioned that property is only available in 4.x.
For custom applications, it's available starting from 4. But for Alfresco Access, it's available from 3.4.
Oh, okay.
For Alfresco Access data producer, you can use this filter starting from 3.4. But when you develop your own application, you can again use custom filter per application. So each application has its own filter. But this is implemented starting from version 4. You cannot get it before this version. Thanks. See. Yes?
How is this auditing work with multi-tenant? Could you set up like one of properties to be storing number that you could do with multi-tenant?
It's easy to do with the new audit mechanism. Why? We can just use a new data extractor and extract the tenant. So we can get the action, the node ref, and everything, and the tenant concerned by this action. Yes, so you can use the data extractor, which will get the node ref, and see which tenant it belongs to, and send back the tenant as well, record the tenant as well as an entry on the audit. On your audit map, you can get the node ref, the tenant, and the path, and the action, and everything. And later, on your custom application or graphical user interface, you can filter based on tenant or group by tenant, but you have the property there. You have the information. You need just to organize yourself with. And you can even implement, again, the audit callback query and organize it or group the results by tenants in low level, on Alfresco level, rather than render it on the graphical level.
Possible to delete, I don't know, some old record values from the audit application, maybe?
Exactly. You can delete even application entries, not all the application entries. It's already implemented. It's a web script in Alfresco. It's API audit control. You will get the list of enabled applications. You can do / the application name, and I think it's clear as parameters. You can get these parameters on the wiki page, on docs page as well. And you can clean data only for unknown applications. And even when you delete an application, all the data related to disappear as well.
Well, this is because I don't know, in your example, how much space could it be, I don't know, be used?
No, actually, in order to avoid this problem with how much space used by the audit values, this was a problem with the 3.2, where everything was stored on the same table. And there was no way, as I said, it was one of limitations. I think you expressed, you used to have something like this before. That's it. That's why you have this. You asked this question, because you had a big ILF audit table, and no way to clean it up because there is. Yep, it can be. Yes, even more. Yeah, and there was no way to clean it up other than running an SQL statement and delete everything. And it was not a clean way to clean up the table or touch directly to the database. But with these implementations, don't worry. You have a remove entry method, which is already implemented in the audit component. And you have even, we'll say, it's even implemented on an audit web script. You can just give as parameter the audit applications and put the action clean, and it will clean up. You can even specify from time to time, specify the user, and it's really flexible to be used.
Is there a mechanism for scheduling that within the application, or do we need to write our own external schedule?
Schedule this with?
To purge.
To purge.
Data information. Is there a mechanism built in for scheduling that, or do I need to?
You can create your own scheduled actions.
But I need to write my own schedule.
Trigger it.
I'm just curious.
Yes. No, but it is not configurable out of box. It's not an action provided out of box by Alfresco. But yes, there is a feed cleaner, but you can implement the same for audit entries cleaner. It shouldn't be difficult because it's just a call for one method and with from to and.
My scheduler externally and then call that on every page.
Exactly. Or use cron. That's what I said. Schedules actions, and it will be triggered once per month, something like this, once per year, or whatever you want. And it will clean the audit entries from to or for this application, specific application, or something like this. It's not complicated to do. So if there is no other questions, I want Vivek, yes, again.
I was trying this audit
API. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
in 3.4 enterprise, and sometimes when a value was recorded, some key duplicated problems was showing me in the logs. Is this fixed maybe version?
Yep, actually I used it. There is no errors. If you enable the log for the inbound data, you can see even the path for the recorded entries, and generally there is no errors. The problem with it, there is one problem. It's two verbs. So it generates a big log file, but it helps you to understand in details how it works in order to design your custom application with the right path to the right services, methods, and arguments. As I said, you can even record before method calls, after method calls. You have pre, post. You have it's really flexible and it's light as an API. Again. So I think this time should be okay. Thank you for your attention. Thanks for attending.